What's up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for tuning into Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Steven Thompson, coming at you with another Inside Pitt practice report, and I'm super excited right now. I'm heading up to South Bend tomorrow. By the time you're reading this, I'll be in the car headed out there. Even if you grew up in a household like mine that could sometimes consider Notre Dame a little insufferable, you still have, I think, an appreciation when you go out to a place like that, when you get to walk on that campus for just, you know, how great it looks. It's an aesthetically pleasing campus, but then when you step into the stadium, step onto that field, there's obviously a ton of history there. As a college football junkie, I'm just really excited to be able to take that in. And then as we'll get into a little bit later, some of that history involves Pitt. A lot, a good bit of that history involves Pitt. This is, the fourth most played series in Pitt history, and I think it's either the fourth or the fifth in Notre Dame history. These teams have played each other a lot. There's a ton of history there, and that history is generally pretty close. So I'm hoping for a good game, and I'm expecting, that we see a tight one up in South Bend. So let's talk about the game itself, preview it a little bit, and we'll start with Sam Hartman, the quarterback who drives everything on offense for the Fighting Irish. The Panthers have faced him before, but talking to them this week, they're not even considering or even looking at that film from the 2021 ACC Championship game, a resounding win for the Panthers, 45-21. They shut out Hartman in the Wake Forest offense in the second half. They turned him over 4 times, 4 picks. But this is completely different. The pro style stuff that he's running at Notre Dame is very different from that slow mesh that he was running at Wake Forest. That RPO heavy style of attack. It's different, but I think the skills that he developed in that slow mesh, know, just uh, pocket presence, the ability to stand in against a pretty furious pass rush is all kind of carried over into his season here at Notre Dame. He you still see that stuff come up, when he plays. Like I said, the serenity, like a really calm pocket presence because when he was at Wake, he's making those decisions very slowly. He's making them, he's making a lot of reads, but as he's kind of dragging that handoff into the offensive line, a pass rush is coming at him, and the pocket's kind of collapsing on him. But you see a lot of plays where it looks like at the very last second he's able to make the right decision and make the right throw, and he has the experience and the just demeanor to stand in there against a really furious pass rush and still make the right decisions, not panic. And that's in addition to a strong arm, an accurate arm, and then the athleticism as well. He's a good runner as well. So that's a lot to worry about. And then he's also got been supported by a really good bruising running game. Audric Estime has really been the star. Nearly 800 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns. He's been the guy who's driven everything, but then you've got, you sell out against the run, and Hartman can easily beat you with his arm as well. So that's just, a lot of stuff that the Panthers will have to worry about. And you could say they're at a relative disadvantage versus if, they faced Hartman one more time if he was Wake Forest quarterback, just because you don't exactly know what you're going to get. You haven't been on the field with him. The good news for the Panthers is that some reinforcements are on the way. I think we're going to end up getting a little bit more of Jake Cradle and Blake Zuvovic along the offensive line. I think they'll probably start, quite honestly. They only played in the second half against Wake Forest, some undisclosed injuries, but I thought that was a little weird. They got limited workloads just coming in the second half. BJ Williams and Jason Collier Jr. started. But I think the limited workload ends there. I don't think these guys will be on pitch counts anymore, and I think they're going to be full go. Narduzzi said at least Cradle is feeling much better than he did last week, so I expect at least him to be back in the lineup again for the Panthers this week. We're also going to monitor some injuries to the linebacking core. It's a really thin linebacker core right now. Solomon Shields, Braylon Lovelace, Kyle Lewis all did not play. Well, I guess DeShields did play. He played one play, but then got knocked out on that opening kickoff against Wake Forest. Lovelace and Lewis didn't make the trip down to Winston-Salem, and these are all pretty important players given the matchup. It's not just that, without them, they'd have to throw little Jordan, young Jordan Bass, into the fold there, a true freshman. But, given this matchup, like I said, the strong run game, Panthers think that the linebackers are really important to helping contain a lot of those outside runs that have given them trouble. So, up until kickoff, we're going to really be giving a close eye to these guys and making sure that they, seeing what their status is, and then also, who kind of gets in the mix, who's going to play a lot, who's ready for this moment right now. Don't know exactly how many of these guys will be back, but Narduzzi did say that he thought Braylon Lovelace was trending in the right direction. So, it could be on a pitch count, but I think he will play, and I think he will, be a pretty decently sized part of the Panthers defensive scheme this week. Also want to talk about that spread, man, because, it's big. It's 20.5 last I checked, and history suggests that it's going to be a lot closer than that. 11 of the last 13 games have been decided by one score between these two teams. In the last 6 trips to South Bend, well, Pitt hasn't won any of them. Those have also all been one-score contests. So I look at that 20.5 point spread, and I think it's really interesting. I've seen this movie before, quite honestly. 2008, 2011, or 2012, 2004. I guess I was a little young to do that one, to remember that one really. But I've seen the highlights and everything. There've been a lot of close games. A couple multiple overtime thrillers. I still remember that 2012 game at Notre Dame Stadium. One of the first Pitt games I ever watched with my dad. I think he's still mad about the phantom pass interference call on K'Wan Williams. That was it's been a really lasting memory, and a painful one at that. But all I'm saying, I'm not guaranteeing a win, but I'm just saying that 20.5 point spread is pretty hefty for a series that has been a lot closer than the records would indicate, because I think Notre Dame has a really strong, advantage in the all-time series record, but tons of these games, especially in recent history, have been really close. It's our football talk for the day. Some basketball news also happened this week. ACC tip-off down in Charlotte. The start of the 2023-24 basketball season is just around the corner. First exhibition of the year is on November 1st. So that's, I believe, next Wednesday, the Wednesday after Notre Dame week, is, an exhibition against Pitt Johnstown. That's kind of the real start of the season for this team. And then November 6th, the season opener. The Panthers got their slot in the ACC preseason poll this week. They're picked 9th, a spot that honestly seems pretty fair to me. The top of this conference between Duke, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia, and Clemson seems pretty set in stone. So does the bottom, with Louisville, Boston College, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, and Florida State. Even Florida State, I'm a little iffy on. That could kind of be into that next tier where I'm going to put Pitt and a few other schools. That middle, man, like I said, Pitt, maybe Florida State, likely not, but Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, NC State, and Syracuse seems like a complete crapshoot, in my opinion. And you could convince me of really any order of finish. So, as long as Pitt's kind of in that middle tier, I think that's where they deserve to be. Tons of guys leaving. Of course, you're relying on some young dudes to really step up and have a big impact. So, I'm not sure you can complain much about 9th. And I think that middle of the pack is going to be real socially mobile throughout the year. It's going to be in flux, and those guys are going to be real. It's going to be a real tight battle to kind of get into that upper echelon of ACC teams and get maybe that double bye in the ACC tournament at the end of the year. As far as conference awards go, Blake Hinson, second team honors, no player of the year votes, which I thought was interesting. I thought he'd get at least one or two. But second team, also a little surprising. I thought he would get some first team consideration, but you look at the names on there, maybe a little hard to argue with that. PJ Hall is from Clemson is maybe the only one that you could think of omitting from that list. But a great honor for Hinson. He's the first Pitt player. He's only the second, Pitt player to ever earn preseason All ACC honors. So great honor for him. I think he's going to honestly have an even better season than a lot of people suspect. He's going to shoot a ton, and if the improvements that he made this offseason actually materialize, he's probably going to average close to 20 points a game. Probably be, again, a strong rebounder, and it'd be hard to keep a guy, even if the rebounding doesn't improve statistically, if he gets close to that 20 points per game mark that we think he can, it's going to be really hard to keep a guy like that off of the first team. The other one I wanted to, Carlton Carrington, freshman point guard, got a vote for ACC Freshman of the Year. The matter of who's going to start at point guard and which of these freshman guards, Jalen Lowe or Carlton Carrington, are better is kind of up for debate. It's kind of a pick your poison thing. Both are going to play. Both, I think, are really good, but it's interesting to see that Carrington gets that one vote. It's not much, but there's at least one person out there in the ACC media that considers him one of the better freshmen in the conference. And if you look at the voting, Elliot Cadeau, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He's probably the top recruit coming to the ACC this year out of North Carolina, and he got the lion's share of the votes. So it was really just a handful of extra votes for anyone else who wanted to who earned a preseason freshman of the year vote. So good honor for Carrington as well, and something to look forward to as the season gets underway. But with that, I'm headed out of here. Thanks so much for tuning into another Inside Pitt Practice Report. Make sure to stay tuned through the end of this week, through the weekend. I'll be out in South Bend delivering some reports on this channel and then also on InsideThePanthers.com. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@InsideThePanthers. And as always, find all of our reporting at InsideThePanthers.com. Good to talk to you all. And until next time.